Jan Mardenborough is a young man from the UK who dreams of being a race car driver, all thanks to his love for the game Gran Turismo. When the car company Nissan announces the GT Academy, a chance for gamers to get behind real race cars, Jan just knows he has to be part of it. This is an opportunity of a lifetime for Jan, but he soon realizes that driving a real race car is a lot more complex and dangerous than using a controller. This is Gran Turismo. Gran Turismo is a new video game adaptation based off of the popular PlayStation series. Well, sort of. The movie is actually about the real-life race car driver Jan Mardenborough. I couldn't help but feel that Sony and PlayStation were really scraping the bottom of the barrel with this one. Maybe that's just because PlayStation is selling all of their licenses out to streaming services, giving HBO The Last of Us or Amazon The God of War. Now, I like to imagine Neil Blomkamp went up to Sony and PlayStation to ask if he could have the rights to that cool PlayStation franchise with the cars, not knowing PlayStation had already sold the rights to Twisted Metal to Universal. And thus the film Gran Turismo was born, and to be honest, it's actually a pretty good movie. I'll gladly eat some crow here. I memed on this film asking who cares, it's a movie about a bunch of race cars. But man, I was wrong. I feel like this movie is better than it has any right to be. It's got a really strong story with an amazing cast, but most of all, it's got some top-notch racing scenes. This movie does to race cars what Top Gun Maverick did to fighter jets. Now, playing the real-life race car driver Jan Mardenborough is Archie Madekwe, and this is such a good lead character and performance. He's a great underdog in the film, and his story is so compelling and satisfying. Seeing him go from a video gamer to a race car driver is so much more exciting and entertaining than you'd expect. They lucked out having such a great story to tell for this movie, because again, it's Gran Turismo. It's just race car driving. Fun game, I assume, but you can't make a movie out of it, because you know how Sony is. They'll try to make the most out of nothing. I mean, look at what they're doing with the Spider-Man characters that aren't Spider-Man. But what you can do is make a movie based off of a real-life person who was inspired by the games. And I think that works very well from a story perspective. The film also has a great supporting cast, too. David Harbour was just great in this movie. He plays a hard-ass coach so well. I really like that character for him. Orlando Bloom was also really good in the film too, but I can't quite wrap my head around the idea that they let this guy mispronounce Nissan the entire movie. It's Nissan, but really, who am I to talk about pronunciation? And I have to give special credit to this film for doing something only a few ever do. And that's actually give Djimon Hounsou something to do in the movie. Now, he may not be in the movie that much, but he does have one scene that hits you with emotions so fast. Man, this scene was so good. Can we please give this man his own action franchise or something? He's a really good actor. When I say this movie is Top Gun for race cars, I mean that in multiple ways, surprisingly. The GT Academy is a lot like the Top Gun program, except it's played out a bit more like a contest. But as for the actual racing scenes, they are so good. There is not one that won't have your blood pumping and won't have you on the edge of your seat. They are just all so captivating. And what makes them even cooler is that the real Jan Mardenborough does all of his own driving in the film. I tell you, what is it with racing-centric films that make the sport of racing a lot more interesting and a lot more captivating than anything you would see on TV? Even movies like Talladega Nights and Cars do the sport more justice than anything you would see on American TV. I say American TV because that's all I've known. If you can believe it, I don't watch racing from other countries because I hardly do it here. Now, this film's marketing may not want you to forget that it's based on a true story, but keep in mind, when you hear that term, it more so means loosely based. I imagine a lot of what Jan Mardenborough went through in this film, he actually went through in real life. I don't deny that. Racing is a very dangerous sport. The film does go as far as to give him a Rocky-style villain, in a character that is, to my knowledge, not based on anyone in the real world. But really, that's just how Hollywood movies are. They're gonna fluff up the truth just a little bit to make an entertaining movie. And, you know, it worked here. Because Gran Turismo is one of the most surprising films I've seen all year. The cast and characters are great, the story is just so compelling, and the racing scenes are top of the line. This is a film I can definitely recommend, especially if you're a racing fan. After this movie, I want them to make another movie in the same vein where instead of a kid who is inspired to be a race car driver because of his favorite racing game, it's about a kid who is prepared for the zombie apocalypse because of all of the zombie games he has ever played. He uses weapons and tactics from his favorite zombie games in order to protect his family. I think that would make for a really good movie. But don't ask where I got this idea from. I hope you all enjoyed this review, and if you did, please consider hitting that like button, and if you want to see more, hit that subscribe button and ring that bell to be notified when my next review drops. Oh, and by the way, check out the website. Until next time, I'm Quint Dunaway, hoping you will keep it cinematic.